Hey everyone. Okay, I'm going to talk about the time that dreams almost killed me. It sounds really melodramatic, but it's not that bad, I promise. So it's the Sunday after GDC, and I've been threatening for months to do this talk. So there's a technical talk I want to release that I did at Space Apex Games, literally just before the pandemic started, or rather, just before we locked everything down. So I did the talk in like March of 2020, I think, or maybe February of 2020, I forget. But I don't think I can give that talk without prefixing it with another talk, something that I've kind of glossed over a lot when I talk about that period, where we rebuilt the server in 3 months. So yeah, where is the context? It's a bit of a longer story, bear with me. And as much as possible, I've tried to respect everyone's privacy while speaking about the story, and obviously professionalism and NDAs and stuff. But it is my personal story, it's my right to tell, and I've kind of navigated it as good as I can, because I think it's important we talk about this stuff. Okay, so it's 2018. Dreams betas in development. It's no secret that Dreams had a lot of delays and a lot of problems around this time. It originally promised to deliver in 2016, and so the 2018 date was very important to everyone, that the beta be delivered in 2018. Now, some context: I worked in Sony Central Tech for a while prior to this. I joined the team in, I want to say 2017. Yeah, 2017 I joined the team. And I joined as a UI programmer mostly, but I'd come from a networking core tech department, so I was working on things like child mode and Dreamiverse UI stuff. But I very quickly got pulled into building the recommendation engine. Not so much the networking side, because one of the reasons I left my previous job was I wanted to get away from networking, but obviously the recommender is involved with the servers and stuff. So I started working with our server programmer at the time. It was like a Node.js stack and everything. But there were delays, and I was waving red flags, and I was really concerned we didn't have enough resourcing in the area. I don't want to go into all of those specific details, but needless to say that the person who was writing the service left, and I took off 2 weeks after waving all the red flags I could for a while, and I was just like, look, I just need a break. When I came back from the break, I found that Alex had decided to take over writing the server. I'd be helping him, and one of our other tools programmers, Parker, would be helping him, and the three of us would basically be writing the server. And me, Parker, and Alex go to town. Amy and some of the tools programmers helped, and were there to support us. And bless Costa as our producer, he did so much work. And Tom, our QA, was just fantastic. And we were just building an entirely new C backend, or I mean, it was really C++, but realistically it was a C backend from nothing. And there's a great technical talk I'll give about the details of that, because that's the talk I gave at Space Ape. But yeah, this is not about the technical side. I've got so many fun stories I'd love to share from that period, but I don't want to share them without asking, and as I say, in the end stuff. But it was intense, and we had promised the community, and we were the bottleneck, right? The game couldn't go out without a server. It needed a server. So it's August. We've got 3 months, 3 months till the year's over. So we had a pretty harsh deadline there. And there are so many fun stories. Honestly, it's some of the funnest time I had as a games programmer. I compare it to my first studio, Mere Mortals, where we did crazy stuff. We worked long hours. Thankfully, I was very sensible and never allowed myself to get a fob. So I had to leave. I couldn't stay in the office alone, which really helped. But obviously, we were still working late and doing things, and Costa, bless him, was there, usually pretty late, so I could go, and then I'd get the train back to London. But we were solving problems and taking off tasks. Like, we were going so fast, we had to stick post-it notes up on the wall because Jira was just too slow for us. So anyway, we built pretty great tools and everything, but by the time we were running up to the deadline, we were like, okay, we're going to launch the beta. I think it's December 20th we said we'd launch the beta. We had tools, we had monitoring, the server was pretty robust. but we didn't have time to train anyone up on those tools, and we didn't have time to hand over to anyone at Sony or anything. So we were like, okay, so basically Evans, Parker, and me are the only three who can fix the server if something goes wrong, which means we all had to effectively be on DevOps pager duty, because if something did go wrong, you got to be there, you got to be ready to solve it. Like we were writing the run book, like, which is like the emergency manual, like the day before we push the button to go live, kind of thing. Yeah, so that was the plan for the beta, is the three of us would cover on a 1 day on, 1 day off kind of thing. Well, actually, because it was three of us, it would not be 1 day, one off most of the time. But unfortunately, Evans had a big family Christmas thing, so around Christmas specifically, it was 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off between me and Parker. So we pressed the button December 20th. I think we had like 2 days in the office before everyone goes on break. Now, everyone, including us, are super excited. We see the first like beta creation comes in, it's over the moon. I cannot express, like, Dreams is the coolest thing I've ever worked on in my life. And I love Dreams. And it was so cool to see that stuff come in and to see just everything worked. It was fantastic. You know, we had no idea. We had like some tests and stuff, and we were fairly confident in some of our code, but we had no idea how many players we could actually support, because sometimes your tests don't reveal things and stuff. And we're watching the servers, we're watching these graphs and everything. You know, we're hooked. We're like, ah. But yeah, we have like 2 days in the office, and then everyone goes off on Christmas break, right? And the three of us are like, boom. And to be clear, like, we're not the only ones like on call, so to speak. You know, you have people on like beta monitor, like community manager people and crisis team people and all that kind of stuff. But the problem was there was no one else to cover it for us. There was just the three of us who could do the job at the time. So yeah, that's kind of our first problem. And then we do a few shifts, and my shift on Christmas Eve, we have our first real problem. A player was an arsehole. A player was just, I don't want to say details because of security and stuff, but someone was doing something really shitty that was making it shitty for other people that we had to fix. And that involved deploying code, like writing new code and deploying code, not very complicated, but deploying code to production without testing. There wasn't time, you know, so yeah. You know, my team was there to support me. They were there on the call and stuff, but ultimately I'm the person typing the keys in, and I'm the person pushing the big red button, right? And so that happens. We fix it. But you know, the stress is pretty high. You know, my stress is already kind of peaking. We ride high through Christmas. Me and my wife are doing a little flat holiday. Our flatmate had gone to see family, but she'd be back for New Year's. To give you an idea of just, I mean, there's some rich food and stuff which is not helping. But to give you an idea, like, I'm so stressed that I'm like doing push-ups and planking and doing like exercise in the lounge because I've just got so much energy trying to stay on top of all of this. You know, it's really intense. And you know, the 1 day, 1 off, not giving us much of a break. So we ride high through Christmas. And one of the things is, because I did Christmas Eve, I have New Year's Eve off, because every year we throw a party. Now, the day before New Year's Eve, so my shift, another incident happened. Again, I don't want to talk details, but another player was being an asshole, and they were abusing the audio importer, and it wasn't a big code change because we had a plan for it. But when they abused the audio importer, we had to make the call about whether or not we'd turn it off. And I had to turn it off, and it felt really shitty. It was something that Alex liked. It was something we got in, like we'd fought to get in there and stuff. Yeah, turned off, sucked. The community hated. We turned it off. I mean, a bit of a redemption arc. Before I left one of the last things I did was turn it back on. You know, through a sanction process and client team doing like code and stuff. It wasn't just me, but that was one of the last things I did before I left, was I got to turn the audio importer back on. So that was a bit of a redemption arc for that story. But needless to say, it really sucked that we had to turn this cool feature off. And again, it was on my shift. which sucked. Just luck of the draw, you know, these things happen. But now I have New Year's Eve off to throw the party, and I'm relaxed because this is the first time since we launched the beta that I've got more than a day off, right? So more than day on, day off, right? So I actually have like 2 days off, and I'm like, because I've got New Year's Eve and I've got New Year's Day off, and I'm like over the moon. I'm like, whew. And I go to bed relieved, ready to get ready for the party. But then around 1 a.m. I wake up with chest pains. Not super bad, not stressed. I go to the bathroom. I grab a paracetamol, drink some water, and I go back to bed. But then a little bit later, I wake up and the pain's worse. And now I'm a little bit stressed. Not like crazy stressed, but I'm stressed. So I call 111, which in the UK is like a 24-hour, I'm sick, but I'm not dying number, right? So it's like not our emergency number, but it's our 24-hour healthcare number. And I speak to someone, takes through a script, answer some questions, and they're like, we'll get a doctor to call you back. A doctor very quickly called me back. I'm pacing up and down in the kitchen, and the chest pain's getting worse, and the doctor speaks to me very briefly, and it's like, we need to get you to hospital. And I'm like, okay. So I go to the bedroom, I wake my wife up, and I, start trying to get dressed, start trying to order an Uber to get to the hospital. And while I'm doing this, the pain spikes, and I just start screaming. And at this point, my wife's awake, our flatmate's back, she's awake, and they're calling an ambulance, and there's like a little alcove between the two bedrooms. And I've collapsed in that little alcove, clutching my chest, and in immense pain, screaming, like trying to keep my vision clear. And I'm just trying to tell my wife I love her. I'm just trying to say my last words. I'm trying to think, is there anything I need to say before I die? Because I've lived an interesting life. I've had some times where I've been, in trouble. But never before or since have I genuinely thought I would die. It was rough. It was really rough. Screaming top of my lungs. I don't even want to know what the neighbors thought. And I'm just trying to get out. Ducky, I love you, and you'll be okay. And I'm rushing through my head, and I'm like, I've got life insurance, and it's like, you'll be fine. Our flatmate's one of our closest friends. I'm like, you guys, you take care of her. It'll be good. Just try to reassure her. Yeah. It was bad. I thought I would die. Anyway, obviously I didn't. The ambulance gets there, and the paramedics, to their credit, bless them, get me under control relatively quick, do some emergency medicine. My breathing under control, they get some meds in me and stuff, get me in the ambulance. I still don't know everything that went on there because I blanked out. But it was really funny when I got back later, there was a bloody handprint smear in the corridor outside of our flat. Again, I don't know what the neighbors would have think of that, but yeah, there's bloody handprint smear. I still remember that. Coming back to see it, not what caused it. I think I had a line in me or something like that. Anyway, I get to the hospital. Now some context, it's not New Year's Eve, it's the morning of New Year's Eve. So the hospital's dead. It's really quiet because New Year's Eve is one of those worst shifts to work in a hospital. So the morning of New Year's Eve is one of those dead, quiet before the storm things, but everyone's still kind of stressed. And I got out of the woods pretty quick once I was in the ambulance and once I was under care, and my EKG wasn't crazy or anything. So honestly, by the time I got to the hospital, I almost felt like I was an inconvenience, because I was like, well, I know I'm not going to die now. You guys don't have to stress. This is the only time I've ever ridden an ambulance, and I was like, I'm fine now. It's terrible. But they did fuck up because they were meant to do certain blood tests, which they didn't do. But I was discharged because my EKG and everything was normal. It wasn't a heart attack, they said. It was an upper gastric event, which I've been informed by my doctor friends is what they say when they have no clue, and they don't want to put down heart attack. But I'm still covered in like little sticky plaster things. I've got a party to host. Fuck it. I go to the hairdresser because I had a hairdressing appointment. Like I booked like 2 weeks in advance to get my hair done for the party. I got my hair done for the party. Thankfully, one of our friends who was at the New Year's Eve party was one of the doctor friends I mentioned. So obviously I didn't drink or anything that night, but I knew I had a doctor on hand all night. I mean, obviously it wasn't his job, but you know, that made me feel a lot safer. And you know, I'm still trying to figure out the health thing, because ever since then I get chest pains occasionally, but COVID slowed that down because apparently there's some kind of heart attacks that don't show up on an EKG. But yeah, I try to keep my stress levels down, but I still get mild chest pain. But yeah, I genuinely thought I was going to die. 100% thought I was going to die, and could have died. You know, if those paramedics had been even a bit slower, I'm pretty sure I would have died. Yeah, you know, anyway, like no one was really to blame, because it was a really rough situation. I will say was a great place to work. You know, working with Evans and doing those 3 months were some of the happiest memories. It was rough, but it was it was fantastic. I didn't almost die, but I'll share tech talk about the tech we built and some of the lessons I learned from that. Because that tech talk I've been meaning to. I was going to tour it to a bunch of conferences and stuff, but then COVID happened, so I only got to do the talk once. And so at this point, I'm just like, let me just make a YouTube video of that talk. But I didn't feel right giving that talk. I always felt a little bit guilty talking about to people, hey, we built a server in 3 months, and not saying, hey, we built a 3D server in 3 months and it almost killed me, because that's the reality. You know, that's the reality of the crunch that it was. And I'm not going to say no one asked me to crunch. I mean, no one said stay in the office or whatever, but you know, we had these deadlines and we had these factors on us. It was there. It happened. I don't really blame anyone other than myself and maybe those 2 arsehole players. Fucking assholes. Seriously, if you're fucking around with like a product or like a server around Christmas, like just think of the poor bastards who've got to maintain that, man. You're just being a dick. But yeah, you know, it gave me a lot of clarity going into 2019, what I wanted. So I went back into the office with like, I want to do this. That's another story for another time. I'll have you know I'm much happier now. I'm in a lower stress job, and I think the reason I'm recording this now is because I've just finished up with GTC and I've got time because I'm in my hotel room and stuff. But I think I'm just in a better place. And especially doing GTC this year, I just realized how much less stressed out I was. I love the games industry. I always want to be associated with it. But it's really nice to be paid a good salary and have, you know, a product that I'm working on, and just, I'm not stressed anymore, or at least I'm way less stressed than I've ever been in a games industry job. And yeah, so, you know, just want to have those conversations, and I'll do the technical talk. I might actually just take a break and then like in an hour from now record it. I need to like take a break though. But I didn't think it would be right to release the technical talk without releasing this, because I think that's an important part of the story. And yeah, it was super cathartic to put the story out there. And I will say, I still root for Dreams daily. The Impies was this morning. It was fantastic to see that team's nailing it. I have so much love for Dreams and for all the stuff that goes on there. But yeah, I just needed to share that. So it's out there. Hopefully I have enough courage to post when I post this. But That's recorded at least. Oh, that's Claire. I'll say bye-bye for now.